The news spread through the Caleth Empire like wildfire. In the capital city of Nethys Prime, Emperor Thanakor sat on his crystal throne, reading reports that seemed impossible to believe. His ancient hands shook as he held the datapad, his 800-year-old mind struggling to understand what had happened. One ship, he whispered to his assembled council. One unknown ship destroyed 35 of our warships and forced Admiral Vextar to retreat. General Morketh, a battle-scarred veteran of countless conquests, stepped forward. Unlike the other Caleth nobles, Morketh had earned his position through combat rather than politics. My lord, perhaps the reports are exaggerated. Fear can make soldiers see things that are not there. I have video recordings, the Emperor replied, activating a holographic display. The council watched in stunned silence as the battle played out before them. They saw the human ship appear and disappear at will, watched their mighty cruisers vanish into nothingness, witnessed the impossible sight of Caleth forces in full retreat. What manner of beings are these humans? Asked Chancellor Crixna, the Empire's chief advisor. Where did they come from? How did they develop such technology? Emperor Thanakor stood from his throne, his robes flowing around his tall frame. It does not matter where they came from. What matters is that they represent a threat to everything we have built. Send word to every fleet commander in the Empire. I want 10,000 ships converging on the core worlds immediately. 10,000, my lord? General Morketh asked. Surely that is excessive for one vessel. The Emperor's eyes blazed with anger. Excessive? They humiliated our finest admiral and destroyed dozens of ships without taking damage. I will not underestimate these creatures again. Mobilize everything we have. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the Indomitable drifted quietly near the wreckage of the destroyed Caleth vessels. Captain Lee stood in the ship's science lab, watching Dr. Yoon Sunwoo examine pieces of alien technology that had been recovered from the battlefield. What have you found? Lee asked. Dr. Yoon looked up from her microscope, her expression troubled. Captain, this is disturbing. The Caleth technology is not original. These weapon systems, their armor plating, even their engine designs, they are all stolen from other species. Stolen how? They conquer a world, study the technology, then incorporate the best parts into their own ships. This plasma cannon came from the Zephyrians. This shield generator is based on Altarian designs. They are not innovators, Captain. They are parasites who steal from everyone they destroy. Lee nodded grimly. That explains how they became so powerful. They had 3,000 years to collect the best technology from 47 different species. There's more, Dr. Yoon continued. I found data storage devices in some of the wreckage. The information shows prisoner locations, slave camps, and mining colonies. Captain, there are millions of beings from conquered worlds still alive in Caleth territory. Can we locate these prison camps? Some of them, yes, but they are heavily guarded and spread across dozens of star systems. Captain Lee activated the ship's communication system. All senior staff to the bridge. We have new orders to discuss. On the bridge, Lee addressed his officers while displaying a star map showing Caleth territory. Red dots marked known prison camps and military installations. Our mission has changed. We are no longer just making first contact. We are going to systematically destroy the Empire's ability to wage war. Commander Park studied the map carefully. Captain, there are hundreds of targets. Supply depots, shipyards, training academies. It will take months to hit them all. Then we better get started, Lee replied. But we do this smart. We hit their supply lines first, then their production facilities. We save the prisoner camps for when we have backup. Backup? Lieutenant Kim asked. Admiral Song and the Pacific Fleet are already on their way. 50 ships should be here within the week. Chief Engineer Choi's voice came through the speakers from engineering. Captain, I've been studying the energy readings from our last battle. Their weapons are powerful but inefficient. Their ship designs are outdated. If they built this technology themselves, they would have improved it over time. The fact that it has not been upgraded proves Dr. Yoon's theory. Good work, everyone, Lee said. Kim, set course for the Beltani system. Intelligence shows a major supply depot there. The Indomitable jumped to hyperspace, beginning a campaign that would terrorize the Caleth Empire. Over the next several days, the human ship appeared without warning at military installations across 3 star systems. Each attack was swift and precise. Supply convoys vanished, shipyards exploded, and training facilities were reduced to floating debris. What made the attacks even more frightening for the Empire was their surgical nature. The humans did not target civilian populations or non-military facilities. They struck only at the Empire's war machine, leaving ordinary citizens unharmed but completely disrupting military operations. Major Kang Jiwan led his marine teams on boarding operations whenever possible. The tall, muscular officer had trained for years in zero-gravity combat, and his soldiers were the best in the Earth fleet. When they captured damaged Keleth ships, they moved through the corridors like ghosts, stunning enemy crew members and downloading computer files before vanishing back to their ship. During one such raid on a crippled transport vessel, Major Kang made an incredible discovery. The ship's cargo hold contained prisoners from 6 different species, all being transported to slave camps in the inner systems. "Captain," Kang reported over his radio, "we have liberated 200 prisoners. Among them are Mortai survivors from the recent conquest plus beings I do not recognize." "Bring them aboard," Lee ordered. "Dr. Yoon will check their health, and we will get information about other prison camps." The rescued prisoners were amazed to meet humans. Many had never heard of Earth or the human species, but they quickly learned that these strangers were fighting to free all enslaved peoples. An elderly Mortai scientist named Veltar became especially helpful, providing detailed information about Keleth military procedures and weaknesses. "The Empire's greatest weakness is their communication system," Veltar explained during a briefing on the bridge. "They use quantum transmitters that send signals instantly across the galaxy, but the transmitters are located on only a few dozen worlds. If you could destroy or disrupt those transmitters, their fleets would be blind and confused." Commander Park smiled. "Captain, if we could cut their communications, we could turn their own reinforcements against each other. They would not know which ships were friends and which were enemies." "An excellent strategy," Lee agreed, "but we will need more ships to hit that many targets simultaneously." As if summoned by his words, Lieutenant Kim looked up from his sensor station. "Captain, I am detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching our position. Large ships moving in formation." "Red alert," Lee ordered, then paused as Kim continued his report. "Sir, they are broadcasting Earth Fleet identification codes. It is Admiral Song with the Pacific Fleet. The space around the Indomitable filled with 50 human warships, each one a masterpiece of engineering designed for a specific role in combat. The fleet flagship, UES Yamato, moved alongside the Indomitable as Admiral Song requested permission to come aboard." Minutes later, Lee greeted his former mentor in the ship's docking bay. Admiral Song Ji-hoon was a short, stocky man with gray hair and kind eyes, but his reputation as a tactical genius was known throughout the Earth fleet. "Captain Lee," Song said with a smile, "I hear you have been making quite an impression on the locals." "Just following orders, sir. The Keleth Empire needs to be stopped." "Indeed they do," Song replied, his expression becoming serious. "The coalition has voted unanimously. This is now a war of liberation. We are here to end the Empire's reign of terror permanently." Song handed Lee a sealed datapad. "New intelligence from Earth. The Empire is mobilizing everything they have. 10,000 ships are converging on their core worlds. They plan to make a stand at Nethys Prime." 10,000 ships, Lee repeated, considering the number. "That is more than we expected." "It is also more than they can coordinate effectively," Song said with a slight smile, "especially if their communication network suffers unexpected problems." On Nethys Prime, Emperor Thanekor received reports of the new human fleet with growing alarm. His military advisors argued among themselves about strategy, while ship after ship reported attacks on supply lines and communication stations. "My lord," General Morketh said during an emergency council meeting, "we must consider the possibility that these humans are not just explorers or raiders. Their attacks are too coordinated, too precise. This is a full military campaign. What are you suggesting?" the Emperor asked. "They are here to destroy us completely, not to conquer, not to steal our technology, but to end the Empire entirely." Emperor Thanekor was quiet for a long moment. In 800 years of life, he had never faced an enemy that truly threatened his power. Every species they had encountered could be defeated through superior numbers or better technology. But the humans were different. They fought with a combination of advanced technology and tactical brilliance that the Empire could not match. The silence on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion stretched for what felt like hours. Admiral Vextar stared at the communication screen, unable to believe what he had just heard. In 3,000 years of conquest, no species had ever demanded the Empire's surrender. The very idea was so ridiculous that several officers began laughing nervously. "Did that alien just order us to surrender?" Captain Zilmoth asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Vextar's shock quickly turned to rage. His forearms trembled with anger as he stepped closer to the screen. "Unknown vessel, you have made a grave mistake. I am Admiral Vextar of the Calith Empire. You are facing 200 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy. Stand down immediately or be destroyed." Captain Lee's voice came through the speakers again, still perfectly calm. "Admiral Vextar, you have exactly 60 seconds to order your fleet to power down weapons and prepare for boarding. This is your only warning." The Calith bridge erupted in angry shouts. Officers called for immediate attack, while others demanded to know how one ship could threaten an entire fleet. Vextar raised his hands for silence, his eyes never leaving the screen. "You face the might of the Calith Empire," he said slowly. "We have conquered 47 worlds. We have destroyed armies numbering in the millions. What makes you think your single ship can challenge us?" "Because," Lee replied, "we are human." On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Lee stood calmly beside his command chair. His crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency, each officer focused on their assigned tasks. There was no panic, no shouting, no dramatic speeches.
"Just professional soldiers doing their job. Time remaining?"
Lee asked. Lieutenant Kim checked his display. 30 seconds, Captain." Commander Park looked up from her weapons console. "Sir, I'm reading massive energy buildup across their fleet. They're charging weapons on all ships." "Expected," Lee said simply. "Chief Choi, status on our defensive systems?" The engineer's voice came through the communication system. "Adaptive armor is ready, Captain. All energy absorption systems are online. We're ready for whatever they throw at us. Weapon status? Quantum torpedoes loaded and targeted," Park reported. "I've identified the primary threats in their formation. 50 ships are moving into attack position." Lee nodded and pressed a button on his chair. "All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage the enemy. Remember your training. Remember why we're here. Today we show the galaxy that bullies can be stopped." Back on the Calith flagship, Vextar had heard enough. He turned to Zilmoth with murder in his eyes. "Destroy that ship. Use everything we have. I want nothing left but space dust." Zilmoth began giving orders to the fleet. 50 Calith cruisers moved into formation around the lone human vessel. Their hulls bristled with plasma cannons, particle beams, and missile launchers. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a city. "All ships report ready to fire," Zilmoth announced. "Then finish this," Vextar commanded. The space around the Indomitable suddenly filled with deadly energy. 50 Calith warships opened fire at the same time, their weapons creating a light show that could be seen from planets away. Plasma beams hot enough to melt steel crashed into the human ship's hull. Particle cannons that could punch through mountains struck again and again. The assault was so intense that nearby asteroids began to melt from the heat. When the light finally faded, the Calith officers expected to see empty space. Instead, the Indomitable hung motionless in the void, completely undamaged. Its hull had absorbed the entire attack without even showing scorch marks. "Impossible," Zilmoth whispered. On the human bridge, Park calmly reported their status. "No damage, Captain. The adaptive armor absorbed 90% of their attack energy and converted it to power for our systems. We actually gained energy from that attack. Fascinating technology," Lee said. "I'm sure our scientists will want to study how they generate that much firepower." "Kim, are you ready?" The young navigation officer's hands moved across his controls. "Micro-jump calculations complete, sir. Ready to execute combat maneuvers. Begin." What happened next changed everything the Calith Empire thought they knew about space warfare. The Indomitable simply vanished from its position, reappearing 3 seconds later directly behind one of the attacking cruisers. Before the enemy could react, a single quantum torpedo struck the Calith ship's engine section. The cruiser didn't explode. It simply stopped existing. The torpedo's quantum field broke down the molecular bonds holding the ship together, turning 500 meters of metal and alien crew into scattered atoms. There was no fire, no debris, no survivors. One moment a powerful warship was there. The next moment there was only empty space. The Indomitable vanished again, appearing beside another cruiser. Another torpedo, another ship reduced to nothing. Then it jumped again and again, moving through the Calith formation like a deadly ghost. Each time it appeared, another enemy vessel died. The Calith officers watched in growing horror as their ships were destroyed one by one. Their weapons couldn't track a target that could teleport around the battlefield. Their shields meant nothing against weapons that ignored the laws of physics as they understood them. How are they doing that? Krendar shouted over the chaos on the bridge. Some kind of advanced jump drive. Zilmoth replied, trying to coordinate a response. All ships concentrate fire on their next appearance point. Try to predict where they'll jump. But the human ship was too fast and too smart. It appeared in unexpected places, struck with deadly precision, and vanished before the Kaleth could return fire. In 10 minutes, 25 enemy warships had been destroyed without the Indomitable taking a single hit. Park called out targets from her station. Next group is moving to surround us. They're trying to box us in. Let them, Lee said calmly. Kim, take us into the center of their formation. Sir? Kim asked, surprised. You heard me. Right into the middle of them. The Indomitable jumped directly into the center of 30 Kaleth ships, surrounded on all sides by enemy guns. The alien captains thought they finally had the human vessel trapped, but they had made a critical error. They were now so close together that they couldn't fire without risking hitting their own ships. Park smiled as she worked at her console. Multiple target lock acquired. Firing spread pattern. 6 quantum torpedoes launched simultaneously in different directions. Each one found its target, and 6 more Kaleth ships vanished from existence. The remaining vessels tried to back away, but they were too close together. Some collided with each other in their panic. Jump us out, Lee ordered. The Indomitable disappeared from the middle of the enemy formation and reappeared at a safe distance. Behind them, the Kaleth ships struggled to reorganize their formation while dealing with collision damage and the shock of losing over 30 vessels in 12 minutes. On the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Vextar stared at his tactical display in complete disbelief. 1/3 of his attacking force had been destroyed by a single enemy ship. His remaining vessels were scattered and demoralized. Many captains were requesting permission to retreat. Sir, Zilmoth said quietly, perhaps we should consider— No, Vextar roared. We do not retreat. We are the Kaleth Empire. We do not run from anyone. But even as he said the words, Vextar knew something had changed forever. For the first time in centuries, the Empire had met an enemy they could not defeat through overwhelming force. The human ship had shown abilities that seemed impossible, weapons that defied understanding, and tactics that turned their own numbers against them. Captain Lee's voice came through the communication system one more time. Admiral Vextar, I offered you a chance to surrender. You chose violence instead. This is the result. Order your remaining ships to stand down, or we will continue until none of you are left. Vextar looked around his bridge at the faces of his officers. For the first time in 50 years of command, he saw fear in their eyes. Not fear of death, but fear of facing an enemy they could not understand or defeat. All ships, he said slowly, withdraw to the edge of the system. Full retreat. The words tasted like poison in his mouth, but Admiral Vextar had no choice. The Kaleth Empire was retreating for the first time in 500 years, and it was all because of one human warship that had emerged from nowhere. The Empire truly never saw it coming, and now they were learning what it meant to face humanity in battle. Commander Hyunwoo sat in his command chair, staring at the massive human battleship that filled his viewing screen. The Soul's fury was so large it blocked out the stars behind it. Its hull was covered with weapon turrets that could destroy his entire ship with a single volley. For the first time in his military career, Hyunwoo felt completely helpless. Commander, Navigator Jin'e said quietly, "What do we do?" Hyunwoo did not answer immediately. What could he do? His 3 ships were facing a battle group that could destroy the entire Velkan fleet. The humans had been watching his people for over a year, learning their secrets, mapping their territories. So Young, he said finally, send a message to Admiral Kyungsoo. Tell him we accept his offer of peaceful relations. Yes, Commander. Captain Sunmi's voice came over the communication system from the Crystal Dawn. Hyunwoo, are you sure about this? We should at least consult with Fleet Command first. And tell them what? Hyunwoo replied. That we found a species that makes our entire military obsolete? That they have 47 battle groups like this one spread across our territory? Captain Jun-ho from the Star Piercer was equally troubled. The High Council will not believe this. They think the Velkans are the strongest military force in the galaxy. They will believe it when they see the recordings, Hyunwoo said grimly. On the human battleship, Admiral Kyungsoo received the Velkan surrender with satisfaction, but no surprise. He had studied these aliens for months. They were proud but not stupid. When faced with overwhelming force, they would choose survival over suicide. Very good, he transmitted back. Captain Daun will provide you with basic translation protocols and contact information for our diplomatic corps. We look forward to peaceful relations between our species. But the Admiral was not finished. He had one more demonstration to make. However, before we part ways, I want to show you something that will help you understand your new situation. Admiral Kyung-soo nodded to his navigation officer. Display our current deployment map. The human ships began transmitting detailed star charts to the Velkan vessels. The maps showed the positions of human battle groups throughout what the Velkans considered their own territory. Commander Hyun-woo stared at the display in growing horror. Red dots marked human fleet positions in dozens of star systems. They were everywhere, behind Velkan lines near major colonies along important trade routes by the stars, whispered Weapons Officer Taemin. They are already here. They have been here for months. This is impossible, Jin-ae said. Our sensor networks would have detected them. Your sensor networks are designed to find ships like yours, Admiral Kyung-soo explained. Crystal hulls and energy signatures. Our ships use different technology. We can remain hidden when we choose to. Captain Sunmi's voice was shaken. Admiral, how long have you been watching us? 14 months, came the calm reply. We identified your species as a potential contact when our deep space probes detected your energy signatures. We spent a year studying your language, your culture, your military capabilities, and your territorial boundaries. The implications were staggering. While the Velkans went about their daily lives thinking they controlled this part of space, human warships had been moving through their territory like ghosts. We know the locations of your shipyards, the Admiral continued. Your military bases, your trade centers, your colonial worlds. We have detailed maps of your hyperspace routes and patrol schedules. Commander Hyun-woo felt sick. The humans had not just found them. They had completely infiltrated Velkan space and studied them like specimens in a laboratory. Why? He asked. Why go to all this trouble for first contact? Because we have learned to be careful, Admiral Kyung-soo replied. Not all species are peaceful. Some attack first and ask questions later. We prefer to understand potential neighbors before revealing ourselves. Captain Da-eun's voice joined the conversation from the cruiser Indomitable. Commander Hyun-woo, your species has an impressive military tradition. Your ships are beautiful and your energy weapons are quite advanced, but you have been unchallenged for too long. What do you mean? Hyun-woo asked. You fight like artists, she explained. Your ships are designed for grace and beauty as much as combat effectiveness. Your tactics emphasize individual skill and honor. These are admirable qualities, but they are not efficient in modern warfare. Weapons Officer Taemin understood what she meant. We have been fighting pirates and raiders, small groups with inferior technology. We have not faced a real military force in generations. Exactly, Captain Da-eun confirmed. We humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. Wars between planets, between star systems, between entire colonial regions. We have learned to build ships for one purpose, winning battles as quickly and decisively as possible. Admiral Kyung-soo took over the explanation. Every human ship is designed to fight outnumbered and win. Every weapon system is built for maximum destructive effect. Every tactical doctrine is tested in actual combat against opponents who are trying their best to kill us. The human fighter squadrons began returning to their carrier, moving in precise formations that demonstrated their pilot skill and training. Your crystal ships are beautiful, the Admiral continued. But beauty does not win wars. Function wins wars. Overwhelming firepower wins wars. Superior numbers and better logistics win wars. Commander Hyun-woo watched the human ships preparing to depart. What happens now? Now you return to your people and tell them what you have learned, Admiral Kyung-soo replied. You explain that the galaxy has changed. That humanity is here and we are not going away. Will there be more contact? Of course. We will establish formal diplomatic relations within the next few months. There will be cultural exchanges, trade agreements, and technological cooperation. Your species has much to offer. Captain Da-eun added her own thoughts. But understand this, Commander. The age of Velkan dominance in this sector is over. Not because we wish to conquer you, but because the balance of power has shifted. You must adapt to this new reality. The human battle group began forming up for departure. The massive battleship Sol's Fury slowly turned away from the asteroid field. its engines building power for the jump to hyperspace. "We are leaving now," Admiral Kyung-soo announced, "but we are not leaving this sector. Human ships will continue to patrol these systems. Some will be visible, others will not. We will be watching and learning as we always do." One by one, the human ships vanished in flashes of hyperspace energy. First, the fighters returned to their carrier. Then the destroyers jumped away, followed by the carrier itself. Finally, the great battleship disappeared, leaving only the cruiser Indomitable. Captain Da-Yoon had one final message for the Velkin commanders. "Gentlemen, this has been a productive first contact. I am transmitting our diplomatic frequency and contact protocols. I suggest you use them soon. Because ready or not, humanity has arrived in your part of the galaxy." The Indomitable jumped to hyperspace, leaving the 3 Velkin ships alone among the asteroids. Commander Hyunwoo stared at the empty space where the human fleet had been. His crew looked to him for orders, but he had none to give. Everything had changed in the space of a few hours. The Velkins were no longer the masters of their own territory. They were just another species sharing space with something far more powerful and dangerous than they had ever imagined. And there was nothing they could do about it except adapt or die. The great hall of the Kaleth flagship buzzed with celebration. Officers in dark uniforms raised their glasses high while Admiral Vexitar stood before the massive viewing screen. Outside, 200 warships floated in perfect formation against the backdrop of distant stars. Their hulls gleamed with the light of conquest, each one a weapon of terror that had brought entire worlds to their knees. "Today marks another glorious victory for our empire," Vexitar announced, his voice echoing through the chamber. The alien admiral's forearms spread wide as he addressed his officers. "The Mortai homeworld has fallen. Another weak species has learned to bow before the might of Kaleth." Cheers erupted from the assembled crowd. Captain Zilmoth, commander of the flagship Eternal Dominion, stepped forward with a data tablet in his hands. "The final count, Admiral. 43 Mortai cities destroyed. Their population now serves as workers in our mining colonies. Their technology has been seized and studied." "Excellent work," Vexitar replied with satisfaction. "How long did their pathetic resistance last?" 6 hours, sir. They surrendered once we destroyed their capital." More cheers filled the hall. This was how it had always been for the Kaleth Empire. They would arrive at a world with overwhelming force, crush any resistance, and add another species to their collection of slaves. For 3,000 years, no one had been able to stop them. No one had even tried to challenge them seriously. Intelligence Officer Krendar stood quietly in the corner, reviewing sensor data on his portable screen. Something was bothering him, but he could not quite figure out what it was. The celebration continued around him while he studied the readings from their long-range sensors. Far beyond the edge of the Kaleth system, something moved through the darkness of space. The UES Indomitable drifted silently between floating asteroids, its hull nearly invisible against the black void. Inside the ship's bridge, Captain Lee Taman sat in his command chair, studying reports from his officers. "Status report," Lee said calmly. Commander Park Hyeri looked up from her tactical station. "All systems ready, Captain. We've been monitoring their communications for the past 6 hours. The Kaleth fleet is celebrating their latest conquest. The Mortai species?" Lee asked. "Yes, sir. According to our intelligence, they were a peaceful people. Scientists and artists, mostly. The Empire destroyed their homeworld in less than a day." Lee's jaw tightened slightly, but his voice remained steady. "Any survivors?" "Some were taken as slaves. Our long-range probes detected transport ships leaving the system with more Thai prisoners aboard." Lieutenant Kim Doyen spoke from the navigation station. "Captain, I've been studying their fleet formation. 200 ships, including 5 dreadnoughts. Their flagship is that massive vessel in the center." "The Eternal Dominion," Park added. "Admiral Vexitar's personal command ship. Our intelligence says he's been the Empire's top military leader for over 50 years. Chief Engineer Choi Minji's voice came through the communication system from the engine room. "Captain, all our systems are running perfectly. The adaptive armor is ready. Quantum weapons are fully charged, and our stealth system is working flawlessly. They have no idea we're here." Lee nodded and stood up from his chair. He walked to the main viewing screen, where the distant lights of the Kaleth fleet could be seen as tiny dots. Each dot represented a ship that had destroyed countless worlds and enslaved millions of innocent beings. 50 years of intelligence gathering, Lee said quietly. 50 years of watching them destroy civilization after civilization. The United Earth Coalition spent decades preparing for this moment. Park joined him at the screen. The Kaleth think they're the strongest force in the galaxy. They've never encountered a species that could match their technology. They've never encountered humans, Lee replied. They don't understand what we're capable of when we see innocent people being hurt. Back on the Kaleth flagship, the celebration was reaching its peak. Officers shared stories of their victories while Admiral Vextar basked in their praise. The Empire had grown so powerful that most species surrendered without fighting. Those that tried to resist were crushed so quickly that word of the Empire's might spread throughout the galaxy. Krendar finally approached the Admiral with his data tablet. "Sir, I'm detecting some unusual readings from the outer system." Vextar barely glanced at the intelligence officer. "What kind of readings?" "Gravitational anomalies near the asteroid belt. The patterns don't match any natural phenomena I've seen before. Probably just debris from some old mining operation," Zilmoth said dismissively. "The Mortai used to mine those asteroids before we conquered them." Krendar shook his head. "No, sir. This is different. The readings suggest something large is moving out there, something that doesn't want to be detected." Vextar laughed loudly. "Impossible. Our sensors can detect any ship within 50 light years. Nothing can hide from Kaleth technology." "But sir, what if—" "Enough," Vextar snapped. "There is no force in this galaxy capable of challenging us. We have conquered 47 species and destroyed anyone who tried to resist. No one would dare enter our territory without permission." Krendar looked down at his readings again. The gravitational patterns were becoming stronger, as if something massive was moving closer to their position. He wanted to insist, but he knew the Admiral would not listen. Vextar had become overconfident after so many easy victories. On the Indomitable, Lee returned to his command chair and pressed a button on the armrest. "All stations, this is the captain. Prepare for combat operations. We're about to announce humanity's presence to the Kaleth Empire. Weapons ready," Park reported. "Navigation systems online." Kim confirmed. "Engineering reports all systems optimal." Choi's voice came through the speakers. Lee looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were the best officers in the Earth fleet, chosen specifically for this mission. They had trained for years to face the Kaleth Empire, studying every detail of their technology and tactics. "Remember, our goal is not conquest," Lee said. "We're here to stop a genocide. The Kaleth Empire has killed billions of innocent people. Today that ends." He pressed another button on his chair. "Computer, disengage stealth mode and set course for the center of the Kaleth fleet formation." The Indomitable's hull shimmered as its cloaking system shut down. The ship began moving forward, leaving the safety of the asteroid belt and heading straight toward 200 enemy warships. On the Eternal Dominion, every alarm in the ship suddenly began screaming at once. Officers ran to their stations as red lights flashed throughout the bridge. Krendar stared at his sensors in complete shock. "Admiral," he shouted over the noise. "Unknown vessel approaching from the outer system." Vextar spun around, his celebration forgotten. "What? That's impossible." "Sir, it just appeared out of nowhere. It's heading straight for us." Captain Zilmoth was already at his weapons console. "How did it get past our sensors?" "I don't know," Krendar replied, his hands shaking as he tried to make sense of the readings. "It's like it was invisible until now." Vextar stared at the main screen as a sleek, dark shape grew larger against the stars. The unknown ship was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its design was smooth and deadly, built for speed and power. Most importantly, it showed no fear as it approached the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. "Open a communication channel," Vextar ordered. "I want to know who dares to enter our territory without permission." The reply came immediately in perfect Kaleth language. Captain Lee's voice was calm and steady as it filled the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. "By the authority of the United Earth Coalition, you are charged with crimes against sentient life. Surrender your fleet and submit to tribunal or face the consequences." The bridge fell silent. For the first time in 50 years, someone had challenged the Kaleth Empire directly. Admiral Vexitar's 4 hands clenched into fists as he stared at the approaching human warship. The Empire had indeed never seen it coming. Dr. Yoon raced through the corridors of the Star Killer with her technical team close behind. The alien weapon was so massive that it felt like running through a metal city. Emergency lights flashed red as the station prepared for its first firing in 500 years. Kaleth technicians rushed past them, too focused on their work to notice the human infiltrators. Turn left here, Dr. Yoon said, checking her portable scanner. The power control center should be just ahead. Major Kang's Marines had cleared the route, stunning any Kaleth workers they encountered and sealing off side passages to prevent discovery. The Major himself stayed with Dr. Yoon's team, his weapon ready for any threat that might appear. How much time do we have? Kang asked as they reached a massive blast door. 18 minutes until the weapon fires, Dr. Yoon replied, connecting her computer to the door's control panel. I need 5 minutes to reprogram the power systems, then another 5 to get back to the ship. The blast door slid open to reveal the Starkiller's heart. The power control center was a cathedral of alien technology, with energy conduits the size of starships running through the walls and ceiling. In the center of the room stood a control platform surrounded by holographic displays showing the 3 stars that fed the weapon. Incredible, Dr. Yoon whispered as she approached the main console. They are literally stealing energy from entire solar systems. She connected her computer to the alien systems and began working. The Kaleth technology was advanced but not impossible to understand. After studying captured Empire equipment for weeks, she had learned to read their technical language and interface with their computers. I'm in, she announced. The power flow can be reversed, but I have to wait until they start the firing sequence. If I do it too early, they will have time to fix the problem. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Lee monitored the battle raging outside. Admiral Song's fleet was fighting desperately against overwhelming odds, drawing the Empire's attention away from the infiltration mission. Captain, Lieutenant Kim reported, Admiral Song is requesting immediate extraction. His ships are taking heavy damage. Tell him to hold position for 10 more minutes, Lee replied. Dr. Yoon needs more time. Commander Park looked up from her weapons console. Sir, I'm detecting massive energy buildup in the Starkiller's core. They're beginning the final firing sequence. In the weapons command center, Emperor Thanakor watched with satisfaction as the final preparations were completed. The holographic display showed Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel, completely unaware of its approaching destruction. All systems ready, Chief Engineer Vox Allen reported. The Starkiller is prepared to fire on your command. Target confirmed? The Emperor asked. Yes, my lord. The human homeworld is locked in our targeting system. One shot will reduce it to cosmic dust. Emperor Thanakor raised his hand, savoring this moment of ultimate victory. Fire! Deep in the power control center, Dr. Yoon's computer detected the firing command. Now, she whispered, and activated her program. Instead of flowing outward toward the weapon's massive cannon, the energy from 3 stars suddenly reversed direction. The power meant to destroy Earth began flowing back into the Starkiller's own systems. Warning alarms screamed throughout the station as conduits designed to channel energy began to overload. What is happening? Emperor Thanakor demanded as his command center shook violently. Power overload, Vox Allen shouted over the noise of failing systems. The energy flow has reversed. The weapon is feeding power back into itself. Fix it. I cannot, my lord. Someone has reprogrammed the core systems. We have maybe 3 minutes before the station tears itself apart. In the power control center, Dr. Yoon was already disconnecting her equipment. Done, she announced to Major Kang. We need to leave now. This whole place is going to explode. The human team ran through corridors that were now filled with panic. Kaleth technicians fled toward escape pods while automated systems tried desperately to contain the energy overload. Behind them, the power conduits began to crack and spark as forces beyond imagination tore at the station's structure. Captain Lee had the Indomitable, ready for immediate departure when his team reached the docking bay. All aboard, he ordered as soon as the last Marine was through the airlock. Kim, get us out of here. The human ship detached from the Starkiller just as the weapon structure began to collapse. What had once been the Empire's ultimate symbol of power was now consuming itself in a cascade of stellar energy. Emperor Thanakor stood in his command center as the walls cracked around him. His dream of destroying the human homeworld was ending in the destruction of his own ultimate weapon. Evacuate the station, he ordered, but it was too late for many of his people. The Starkiller exploded with the force of a supernova. The blast could be seen from planets 50 light-years away, as the weapon that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries finally died. The explosion took with it not only the station itself but also 200 Empire warships that had been too close to escape, Admiral. Song's battered fleet watched in amazement as the massive explosion lit up space. All ships, he broadcast. The Starkiller has been destroyed. Repeat, the superweapon is gone. Across the Empire, news of the disaster spread quickly. The loss of their ultimate weapon broke the spirit of many Kaleth commanders. Some began surrendering immediately, while others simply abandoned their posts and fled. On Nethys Prime, the news reached the Imperial Palace just as liberation fleets from a dozen freed worlds arrived in the system. The beings that the Empire had enslaved for centuries were now armed with human weapons and tactics, seeking justice for generations of suffering. General Morketh led the multi-species assault on the capital world. Mortai scientists, Altarian warriors, and fighters from 30 other liberated worlds fought alongside human marines to capture the centers of Imperial power. Admiral Vextar, the once proud commander who had been humiliated by the Indomitable, made one final attempt to defend his emperor. He gathered the remaining loyal ships for a last battle above Nethys Prime, but his forces were outnumbered and outfought by the alliance that humanity had helped create. The final battle was brief. Vextar's ships were destroyed or captured within hours, and the admiral himself was taken prisoner by Major Kang's marines. The Empire's military strength, built over 3,000 years, crumbled in a single day. In the Imperial Palace, Emperor Thanakor faced his final moments not with dignity, but with rage. As human soldiers surrounded his throne room, he activated the palace's self-destruction system, preferring to die rather than face judgment for his crimes. Captain Lee, monitoring the situation from orbit, made a split-second decision. The Indomitable's most powerful weapon, normally used to destroy enemy ships, fired a precise beam that severed the detonation sequence. The palace was saved, along with millions of innocent civilians on the planet below. Emperor Thanakor was captured alive, along with hundreds of other war criminals. They would face trial before representatives of all the species they had enslaved, ensuring that justice would finally be served. In the months that followed, the galaxy began to heal. Dr. Yoon led teams of scientists in returning stolen technology to its rightful creators. The Mortai got back their advanced medical knowledge, the Altarians reclaimed their shield technology, and dozens of other species recovered the innovations that had been stolen from them. Major Kang worked with General Morketh to train new defense forces. These multi-species military units would ensure that no single empire could ever again dominate the galaxy through force. The liberated worlds formed a new confederation, based on cooperation rather than conquest. Each species contributed their unique abilities to the common good, creating a civilization stronger than any empire. Captain Lee stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as it prepared to leave the former empire territory. The immediate crisis was over, but the galaxy was vast, and there might be other threats waiting in unexplored regions. Course set for the Outer Rim, Lieutenant Kim reported. Long-range sensors show several unexplored systems that might contain inhabited worlds. Then that's where we're needed, Lee replied. He looked out at the stars, knowing that humanity's mission to protect the innocent was far from over. The Kaleth Empire had fallen because they never understood the difference between conquest and protection. They saw the galaxy as something to be dominated, while humans saw it as something to be defended. That difference had made all the difference. As the Indomitable jumped to hyperspace, heading toward unknown challenges, one thing was certain. The next time tyranny threatened innocent beings anywhere in the galaxy, a human warship would emerge from nowhere to stop it. The Empire never saw it coming, and neither would any future threat to peace and freedom among the stars.